No, I can't do the electrical, the editing part of it. So we already found that out.
Don't worry, I can't either.
Soundstripe.
And welcome in to another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of pet movie theaters and movie stores, and this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs. Joining me is one of my co-hosts, Dakota Lowry.
What's up, everybody?
And Ernie Ferguson.
No, sir. Can't use them, don't want them, can't afford them if I did.
And welcome to our 40th episode, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
40th episode?
Yeah, this is 40.
It is.
I thought it was 39 a week ago. So I've been informed, though, that it is 40. Who would have thought, huh? Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, who'd have thumped?
Especially when we brought Ernie into the fold. That seems like a death nail in the coffin.
I am the stability.
A whole 10 months we've been doing this. This is like, 10 full months of recording podcasts. That's kind of crazy.
It's all because of the spreadsheet. I mean, that's what keeps us going.
That's what keeps it together.
The spreadsheet that nobody sees except for us.
That's all that matters.
That's what keeps us going. Well, I apologize if I sound sickly, under the weather this week, dealing with a sinus infection.
Oh, aren't we all?
I love when the weather drastically changes, which in Alabama happens a lot. But yes, 40th episode. We're pretty excited, and it was my pick. I didn't even know when I picked this, it was our 40th episode, as I said earlier. So it's not like I picked this for some special reason, special occasion. But here we are, Days of Thunder. Our second sports movie in a row, although a little bit different type of sport. It's NASCAR and racing, which Ernie says is not a sport. But officially, it is a sport, so it'll be our second sport movie in a row. Had either of you seen this?
Yes.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
You had seen it? I thought you said, Ernie, you hadn't seen it.
No, I've seen it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, I have seen this one. This is like prime time Tom Cruise before he got veneers and all that kind of stuff. So, this is like the run of Tom Cruise that I've probably seen a lot. I wouldn't say all, most of what he made at this time.
Oh, I mean, I'll watch anything. Tom Cruise in it. Look, are you making fun of his teeth?
No, I'm just saying this. I mean, you can tell this.
Yes, every time I watch from this period, his teeth always stand out to me.
Oh yeah,
which is funny because I was just before we got on the podcast. I was just watching Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. So that was 2011. So just a striking difference between the teeth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with really handsome or beautiful people that have just some like slight mistake or flaw in their looks. I mean, good Lord, I'm fat and bald and an underbite, so I perish the thought that Tom Cruise have a crooked tooth or something like that.
Let me tell you, talking about this movie, would this really be a Tom Cruise movie if it didn't have a cutscene of him riding in through the smoke on a motorcycle?
Oh, no. Entrance Tom Cruise. I mean, you always have to have some sort of entrance, and they saved Tom Cruise running for the very last scene also, too. I was like, oh, man, because I forgot about that scene. I was like, oh, man, we're not going to have Tom Cruise. Oh, never mind. There it is.
I think this was before Tom Cruise running was like the meme. Or obviously, it wasn't a meme in 1990. But I think this was before Tom Cruise running became a thing in movies. So obviously, it wasn't something that you had to look for. But no, this is personally one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies. Well, one of my favorite movies. Period. I won't say I'm a massive race fan, but I do like racing, and I love this movie a whole lot. Obviously for Tom Cruise, but
hold on. Didn't you do a whole like fantasy NASCAR thing a couple years ago?
I did.
I didn't even know that was a thing until you brought it up to me. Okay, like I knew there was others like
if there
less
is a
known.
sport, there you can do fantasy for it. You can do fantasy, football, basketball, baseball. You can do now. You can do NASCAR, golf. I'm sure there. I mean, look,
It was a wild concept to me. I'd never seen, and I still don't understand how you do fantasy.
well, it was
please don't go into details of it.
Oh yeah, no. He asked. So
good Lord.
I didn't ask. I just said I didn't understand. Let's make that distinction.
While you explain, make sure you put your hand over your Dale Earnhardt tattoo on your heart while you explain this to us, please.
It was. Honestly, I haven't because it's been a few years since I've done it, so I don't. But I mean, drivers get points based on how they finish, and you would pick your drivers kind of like you would set your lineup in fantasy football, and I think you would rank them 1 through 5 or whatever, and whatever.
God, you're already putting Dakota to sleep. He's yawning already. God,
well, I got my watch told me that it had been a very demanding day, so.
My watch never tells me that. But no, that's pretty much just a fantasy NASCAR. There you go. If you're interested, I'm sure you can still go do it. The races happen from basically every weekend until the end of October.
And they turn left.
Yes,
that's what they do.
They sure do that.
But no, I mentioned it last week that I joked about this being the direct sequel to Top Gun. I mean, obviously I'm joking, but at the same time, I mean, really, when you look at it, it is basically Top Gun with NASCAR instead of obviously being a fighter pilot. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think I like this better than Top Gun.
Really?
I do.
I like Top Gun better.
I like Top Gun better too.
No, not saying that this isn't a good movie. It's just I don't know the military premise. I think it kind of intrigued me more than this did. It's not necessarily that this is a bad movie, and don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, and I remember sitting here watching the movie and, thinking, hey, I really wish I had an old Camaro with a straight shift and a V8 in it to, go do donuts in the Walmart parking lot, but like, it basically is the same movie as Top Gun. That's all I could sit here thinking about. There's a few differences, but
it's not just Tom Cruise. It's the same. It's literally the same director as Top Gun.
Well, I mean, I think one difference, and I think it's a big difference, is I don't think there's any. The emotions aren't in Days of Thunder, especially from Tom Cruise, as you get in Top Gun, and so both Maverick and Cole Trickle aren't particularly likable characters, but you have the scene in Top Gun where Maverick breaks down after Goose's death. So you have that, so there is that. Holy cow.
Sorry.
So, I mean, that's one thing I think is a huge difference there is that Tom Cruise's character is really, I mean, if you've seen Color of Money, Top Gun, Cocktail, this Cole Trickle is basically the same character as those movies, cocky person with some sort of something that happened in the past. And that's one thing also. I mean, you had Cole Trickle. He had a past with his dad. We get 5 minutes of that. We get what's his name? John C. Reilly and Duvall's characters dealing with the death of the driver. We get 5 minutes of that. We get more of Rowdy going through some stuff, than anybody else. And that's one of those things where you could tell this movie, there was no script in this movie, and they were writing it as they went. Matter of fact, they talked about that Cruise had some lines taped to the windshield of the car because they didn't have a script until that morning, and even sometimes the writer was in his ear as he was driving to throw him lines too, because again, you could tell it hopped around different places. It didn't really necessarily have cohesion to it for me. But Tony Scott, the director, he makes a beautiful movie. Just like in Top Gun too. There were some beautiful sights with the NASCAR driving and things of that nature that were just that it was very appealing to the eye of this movie. What for me it was.
No, I 100% agree. I when I started watching it, I texted my friend who he's a huge racing guy, and I was like, I'm like 10 minutes in the movie, and I remember why I love it so much because it's just instantly when you get into the NASCAR and the cars driving by and just the scenes of Daytona and everything. You're right. Tony Scott can definitely
Mm-hmm.
paint a picture. But I think also, and look, you have a point about the script, but I think what carries this movie is the acting and the relationship between Cruise and Robert Duvall, who plays a huge part in it. And Nicole Kidman is in it as the love interest, but the real relationship is between Cruise and Duvall the entire movie.
I'll tell you what, you at Cruise at this time, when you put him with a legend, again, we saw it in A Few Good Men with him and Jack Nicholson. And then to me, I wish there were less scenes with Nicole Kidman and more scenes with Duvall. I'll tell you what, I may try to find more Duvall stuff to watch because I loved. We talked about it last week with Kevin Costner and just the little laughs here or there. And Duvall killed me every time he would say something, like when they were driving around and he was eating ice cream, and he just had the little chuckle and the laugh. Again, Duvall was really really good at. But I mean, he had Paul Newman, he had Gene Hackman in The Firm. So Tom Cruise, and I wish they would have given more of that, but we got more Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, and to me, that again, I think we've said this multiple times on podcast of just we have to have a romantic interest because we have to have a romantic interest, and to me, it didn't work in the movie. To me, it didn't.
That's interesting that you point that out because you said you felt like we got more Cruise and Kidman. I felt like we got more Cruise and Duvall. I didn't really think Kidman was. I mean, she was in the movie, but I didn't think she was in it a ton.
Yeah, but you had the whole
until midway through the movie.
I'm talking about in scene together, not talking to each other in the car and in the headset. I'm talking about like you've got them on the same scene together. To me there were more Nicole Kidman stuff with him than there was.
Yeah, but the
Duvall.
talking there was more in the car, that's a big part of it. I mean, that's NASCAR.
Yeah, but you can't see the actors react to each other. I mean, because Tom Cruise is not talking to Robert Duvall. He's just talking. Just like Duvall's not talking to Tom Cruise. And that's editing. It's not two people, playing verbal tennis with each other.
Yeah, they're not in the same room with each other.
Yeah, and so to me, that's kind of what it is. Now, again, they did a good job of editing. They did a good job of putting lines together. But I wanted to see on camera, I wanted to see Duvall and Cruise share more of the screen time together.
I'll tell you somebody else who I really liked in this, and of course, I've liked him in Guardians of the Galaxy and everything, but it was Michael Rooker's character.
This is my favorite role of his.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job of this, and especially later in the movie with him handling the issues that he goes through in the movie, and kind of portraying that. I think Michael Rooker did a really good job. With this character and in this role, like I said, as mentioned, I kind of wish he had a little bit more screen time and a little bit more, time to actually talk and, more than because you don't get a lot of it
because the opening scene with those two, where they're basically having a peeing contest between each other, where Cruise stakes claim to the car. That once he kind of does that, then Rooker sits there and sits on his motorcycle to kind of reclaim it. I thought that was really good. I could have used more Rooker time because one issue I have with the movie is I think they went to the wreck way too soon. I would have liked to seen more of the buildup between Rooker and Cruise and build, and then have the wreck. I'd forgotten how quickly the wreck scene comes up.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Because you go from he wins his first race, and then it's the next scene is like, oh, okay, he's won 5 out of his last 6 races.
which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
like
I don't know how much y'all know about NASCAR, but if anybody wins 5 of 6 races in a span, that's crazy.
yeah. I started looking that up, and I saw Richard Petty won 10 in a row, but that was like in the '60s. But after that, there was a list of who had won 3 in a row. I mean, that's a big deal of who won 3 in a row, and now here we're talking about 5 out of 6 of a guy who's been on a dirt track, and all of a sudden doesn't know a lick about a car. But now all of a sudden, just because he knows what that he's found the newfound lingo, that's another thing.
Man.
Is all of a sudden Cole Trickle knows everything about the car at the end of the movie when he didn't know squat.
He just needed
but,
he just needed to listen to Harry. I want to be honest with you. A lot of the drivers that do NASCAR do not know much about cars. That's what you got your crew
they
chief
know
there
more
for.
than Cole Trickle.
They know how to drive
Yes,
stick.
they probably know more than Cole Trickle.
Yeah, more than I'm going to get in this car and drive.
Yeah, and I feel like you do have to know at least some about cars, like knowing when a wheel's off balance, or knowing, like when if something's going on, or like when you hear noises under the hood, and being able to tell your pit crew, hey, like this is the noise I heard, this is what I think it is, so they know where to kind of look and things like that. I don't know.
Hey, to be fair, he kind of knew. He just didn't know the lingo. It's like when he told Harry that her butt was all over the place talking about his car. I'm obviously paraphrasing. He used some different words there, but I mean, hey, he knew what he was. He was right. He just didn't know the lingo. I'm sure there's professional lingo for that.
Oh, then we also get the Temu Val Kilmer in Carrie Ellis. He's got the Val Kilmer haircut, and he's got the same bad accent that he had in that he will later use in Twister. It was just like, I mean, even though I like Carrie Ellis, but just that why Tom Cruise gets to have a California or no accent at all, but they're forcing Elvis to have this country hillbilly hick accent that's just that's awful.
What did you think about those glasses he wore at the end, right before they started the last race? Those little
the circle ones,
the circle sunglasses he was wearing, and his girlfriend,
I can't say
which
that
I'm assuming was a girl.
That's
up for debate.
No, okay. So watch Beverly Hills Cop 2, and look at Sylvester Stallone's ex-wife, Brigitte Nielsen. Had the same kind of crew cut, except for she was bleached blonde. Has the jacket that has shoulder pads that's meant for a middle linebacker in the NFL. That's just that has something, again, because y'all weren't alive. That is something that I had seen before. Women that were dressed like that, they're just like, whoa. And then those round glasses, yeah, the people were wearing those at that time too. I may have had one pair of those that didn't last very long, but because I have a big old head, so it doesn't look very good on me.
I would love to see you wearing those.
Yeah,
please tell me there's some old pictures of Ernie Ferguson with hair and those sunglasses.
I don't think so. There may be one with me with aviators, though. Because I had a pair of Ray-Ban aviators, which everybody and their grandma had a pair of Ray-Ban aviators. Or the Ray-Bans that he wore in Risky Business. Those Ray-Bans, just the all black ones.
Well, Days of Thunder is a 1990 American sports action drama film produced by Dom Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer and directed by Tony Scott. The film stars Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Robert Duvall, Randy Quaid, Carrie Elwes, Caroline Williams, and Michael Rooker. It also features appearances by real-life NASCAR racers such as Richard Petty, Rusty Wallace, Neil Bonnet, and Harry Gant. Commentator Dr. Jerry Punch of ESPN has a cameo appearance, as does co-producer Don Simpson. Days of Thunder was released in the United States on June 27, 1990 by Paramount Pictures. The film received mixed reviews from critics who praised its racing sequences, Hans Zimmer's musical score, and the performances of Cruise and Duvall, who criticized its lack of originality compared to Scott's previous film, Top Gun, and grossed $157 million worldwide against a production budget of $60 million. And I didn't know this, but a sequel is in development, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Oh.
The Rotten Tomato score, I believe Ernie said it is our lowest at 21%.
It's 38.
38%.
The popcorn meter was 60.
That's something we didn't mention, which is pretty funny because this is one of our favorite subjects to talk about. But the music in the soundtrack is fantastic.
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer kills it in about every movie that he scores. And I mean, there's a reason he's been doing it for almost 50 years now, and he kind of knocks it out of the park a lot of the times. Which he did the music for Twister as well. So
Yeah, he's again, and he hit the like electronic type of music of the '90s perfectly at every single time too. So yeah, you can't hate a Hans Zimmer score.
No.
And then to kind of go into the NASCAR part of it, I think this is Ernie, you may speak. I mean, how popular was NASCAR at this time?
I think at this time it was still regional, where it was very much a southern thing, as you can tell by the opening scene when there's like 4 rebel flags that were flying out throughout the whole entire thing. But again, it was very regional. I don't think ESPN had quite gotten to catch it. I think this is one of those things. NASCAR was smart. NASCAR, I mean, they filmed this at Daytona with the cars at Daytona. They allowed their own drivers to come in, unlike not the Dark Knight Rises or whatever, when they wouldn't let with NFL wouldn't let them use Pittsburgh Steelers or something like that. I know it's in Gotham, but NASCAR fully embraced it, and from what I gather, Daytona had Days of Thunder pasted all over Daytona the whole entire time. So I think with you bring Cruise into this, you bring a major motion picture, you have the emergence of ESPN starting to rise. I think this really, really led to people being more interested, especially, and I don't know how far away Tony Stewart was from this.
He came in at the end of the 90s, into the
90s. Okay, so
I think but you 90s still have, is when NASCAR started to really take off.
And but did you have bigger? When did you get the Earnhardt Wallace? Was it Wallace rivalry?
Yeah, that would have been, I guess, in the 80s into right into the 90s, because Earnhardt won several championships. Like he won like 90, 91, 92. So unlike Major League Baseball, NASCAR was pushing these characters. The sport sometimes doesn't sell itself. But if you have characters, that's why Tony Stewart. People loved watching Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. They loved hating Jeff Gordon, and they couldn't figure out if they liked Tony Stewart or not. But they knew he was going to do something stupid. To me, Tony Stewart and Cole Trickle were a lot alike. Hothead, ramming cars, looking for a fight, all that kind of stuff. And if you know that's what it's like hockey. Sell the fights. I think as I was kind of researching into it, just to kind of see what like real race fans, what did they think about the movie? And I think the overall gist is, the racing is not entirely realistic, which it's a movie, and obviously the story, it's okay, it's not great, but it brought a lot of eyes to the sport at a time when it was growing, and I love that they did a lot, like a lot of the things that happened. You mentioned the ice cream thing, that really happened. I mean, that happened in a race in like 1987. The feud between Cole Trickle and Brooker, it was kind of paralleled between Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine. And then and so like the scene with them having to drive to the dinner together, I think that was pulled from Earnhardt and Bodine. And then the scene where them crashing their cars into it was also something that happened, like it was like back in like the 50s or something. But that was also so a lot of the things that happened are real things that happened in NASCAR history, which I thought was pretty cool to bring. But yeah, you talk about a lot of the paint jobs in these movies, the city car, obviously, with the green one with the 46, but the other ones as well, the Hardy's car, the Exxon car, you still see those paint jobs, and in NASCAR today, you'll see them every once in a while. They'll pull out a similar paint job, which goes to show you here, however many years later this movie is, it still has a big effect.
Yeah, one of the things that makes me... Go ahead, Dakota.
Oh, I was just going to ask a question, was it this movie that they specifically did those paints for, or was it those actually...
Yeah, it was just this movie.
Okay. Those weren't...
Those weren't, as far as I know. I mean, obviously the city one wasn't, because that's not a real sponsor.
Well, but like Hardee's or, like
they may have been sponsors, but I don't think those specific paint schemes were used.
That's okay.
So I think those were fully into this movie. Now, somewhat like the mellow yellow paint skin. I can't remember what driver it was, but like after this movie, someone adopted that paint skin. It wasn't the same number, but it was basically the exact same car, the way it looked.
Yeah.
There was a Hardee's by Kel Yarbrough in the '80s. So I mean, that might have been kind of a play on that real car. But one thing that's always been hard for me, being in other sports, is that it's car numbers and not driver numbers. That's one of the hard things. Is like if you move a car, you don't take the number with you. The number stays with the car, and that's just, if you're good enough, you're gonna keep your number. So, but it's just one of those weird things that it's not it's Ernie Ferguson driving the number 49 car.
Yes.
That's just that's one of those things that you just kind of go, oh, it just sounds weird.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, well, that's the car belongs to whatever race team owns that car.
Let me tell you. Okay, so let me ask this question here. Are there not caution laps?
Yes.
Yes.
And we're going to get to this. I guess we should wait till we read it. But when a wreck happens, do they not immediately pull a pilot car out and put him into caution? Like, why is he lapping and going through a wreck that large?
They didn't have enough time. There wasn't enough time to react to get the. I mean, just because there's a caution doesn't mean that. I mean, he wasn't that far away from it. Plus, those cars are going 150, 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of threw me off, I guess, because
we were able to pull out a pace car or a caution car and have it just stop.
I guess I could just stop the cars immediately. Yeah. I guess in my mind, they were like, if they're at the front of the pack, and these tracks are what, I mean, if you're thinking, a mile long.
I mean, if you're looking at something like Daytona, I mean, those are super speedways. Those are big tracks.
That's not a mile. I mean, it's.
I think.
But I mean, I guess still though,
they're bigger around than you think.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if these tracks are, a mile, 2 miles long, but I guess, like you said, if they're doing 150 miles an hour, they're running at 20, 10, 15, like 20 seconds a lap or something like that, a mile, or 20 seconds a mile or something like that.
So, like Talladega, the lap is 2.6 miles.
Yes, I mean, they're running that in about a minute a lap or something like that.
It's also Talladega is also this weekend. I did not plan that either, by the way.
Funnily enough, we watched this movie and at our family get together Easter because it was between NASCAR and XLF football or whatever that Birmingham League is or whatever. It was between that. So we actually sat down and watched NASCAR Saturday afternoon. And let me tell you, they would run 3 laps, go into caution. And then they would take 2 or 3 laps to get back up to speed, and then they'd go immediately into caution again. And that was like 30 minutes of the entire show.
But
because there's so much rubbing going on.
Well, and
it's racing, man. Rubbing is racing.
So, young USAC racer Cole Trickle is recruited by Chevrolet dealership tycoon Tim DeLand to race for his team in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, bringing former crew chief and car builder Harry Hogg out of retirement to lead Cole's pit crew. Harry had left NASCAR a year prior to avoid the investigation involving the death of driver Buddy Bretherton. After Cole sets a fast time in a private test at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Harry builds him a new chassis and hires him onto his team. So, Ernie, you mentioned this already, but the scenes that we get when the movie opens really get you pumping pretty early. Just the music, because it starts at Daytona. It ends at Daytona and it starts at Daytona, which is that's like the Super Bowl of NASCAR. I mean, that's the biggest race, even though it's funny it's the first race. But we start there and you get what?
So it makes no sense.
But we start there. You get, it does. We get all the scenes. Driver start your engine and all that stuff, and then you get them just going around the track. So immediately, as Ernie says, you get those great scenes that Tony Scott paints for you right away.
Yeah,
so I'm. Go ahead.
The massiveness of a NASCAR scene is what's absolutely ridiculous to me. Just how big the stands are, how big like people are that are in the center of it. Just that's the crazy part about it, and that's not even at its prime here in 1990 either.
That got me trying to take a drink. Sorry. Let me tell you, I'm not a car guy. Even in high school, like I never really like lifted trucks or was into the loud vehicles, and even now, like driving residentially, I'm not in loud vehicles. But every single time, man, when you get the driver start your engine and you hear all of the cars, start up, and I'm just sitting here thinking about how loud that is at that moment, and I can't help but think how just how cool that would be to be there and to be able to see that, man, really got me excited about like some race cars that I'm never going to see. Like it was a cool moment.
My dad says my dad doesn't understand why I'll watch these races because I'll actually watch the ones. I'll always watch them, but every few I'll watch a whole one. But he says the only good part about it is the beginning when they come around the first journey. You get that zoo 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 just like over it. Yeah. Which is really cool. Like you get that in this opening scene.
Let me tell you, I will stand on this just like I stand on it with basketball. NASCAR and basketball are exactly the same. You don't have to watch anything but the last 5 minutes.
No, that is not true.
Nothing matters until the last 5 minutes.
Look, we didn't see the first 192 laps, okay? We saw the last 8 in the final countdown of the movie, okay?
I'm not going to get into
He's
a
got a point
there.
Got a point there.
Whatever. All right, so then after that, we get the I love that it immediately cut to this loud race into rural North Carolina. At first, I thought something was wrong with my TV because it's been a while since I've seen it. So when it cut so fast, I thought something had happened to my volume.
But, they did that at the first with the build into the actual movie as well, because it was so quiet that I was watching it and I was like, do I have it muted or something? And I like turned the volume really up, and then when it actually started, like 30 seconds later, I had to cut it back down.
But we get the introduction of Harry, which is Robert Duvall's character. Man, he plays the Southern. Is he Southern?
He's gotta be.
No, he's not. He was born in San Diego, California.
Huh.
So he plays the Southern character very well. I don't know why. I loved hearing him say ornery in this movie. It made me laugh every time he said it.
Yeah, ornery. Yeah, yeah. Well, he grew up in Maryland, though. So I mean, he may have been born in San Diego, but he grew up in Maryland. So who knows? He might have a little Southern in it. But I mean, he's naturally. If you've ever seen Lonesome Dove, his accent. I mean, that's almost the same exact accent he's got over there, where he's playing like Texas Rangers. So I mean, I think of that, which is crazy that he turned down Godfather 3 to do this. That shows you how bad that Godfather 3 script was. That he went to
I think he made
a movie that had no script.
He made the correct choice.
Yes,
turning down that for this. So we get the introduction of him, and then we get the introduction of Cole, and I love they build the relationship early on. But Harry, Duvall's character being this wily old veteran of NASCAR, and you got this guy in who has done some racing, but it's not NASCAR racing. It's been completely different, more indie style car racing. And so, he's going to come in and he's going to drive the car and he's going to prove himself. And Harry's like, no, we're not. You're not going to drop the hammer and do all these things that he does. But then he still gets convinced to go with him because, he set the track record that it would have taken the pole.
Yeah, it set up that relationship of trying to figure out how to talk to each other and how to communicate with each other. Going back to the ice cream scene, But again, this is also the scene where we get the the motorcycle drives up, it breaks away from him, then all of a sudden this puff of cloud shows up all miraculously as Tom Cruise drives his motorcycle through the cloud too. Oh,
That's in Tom Cruise's contract
it
that he has to make that entrance.
That and his awkward laughs and stalking women in a movie too. But I liked a little bit after this is whenever they agreed to race or be with each other, and you have Duvall in his barn, and he's just kind of talking to the car. I mean, you kind of get the old school mentality, but just I would have liked to seen, instead of the frame of the car, then all of a sudden I get him painting the car. Give me just take 3 minutes away from Nicole Kidman and give me 3 minutes of showing John C. Reilly and all that crew putting this car together. Again, just something. Again, that's something that I would have liked to seen. But then again, I'm not a Hollywood director or writer.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been they could have fleshed out that montage a little bit more. But I really, and I'm starting to realize this now as we watch more of these. You kind of get the same trope in every sports movie, and you're kind of sitting there because I mean we saw the exact same thing last week between Kevin Costner's character and I can't remember who the other actor was in the bar scene at the beginning where he's
Tim Robbins.
Yeah, and when they get into their first game where he's I'm going to bring the heat, and then no you're not, buddy. I'm going to bring the heat. No, you're not, and then he does it, and it's kind of and not saying it's a bad thing, but I kind of see that more so now that Hollywood is going to do what sells, and obviously
always.
this sells. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, but it's just how you you have that. You're always going to have the guru. I mean, Karate Kid, you have the guru. You have the older person teaching the younger person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's conflict between the two. Sometimes it's just guidance. It's just, and that's like, there's no really new ideas. Like 10 Things I Hate About You. It's just Taming of the Shrew. But it's just, it's that combination of how can you rework old concepts and old ideas, and then how can you make it visually appealing. And again, for the most part, this movie was visually appealing.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think there's only so many ways you can dress up a movie, especially something like sports.
Yeah.
There's only so it really comes down to you've got the outline or maybe the rough draft of what you want to do, and it comes down to the people that your actors that they've got to sell it, and then your director has to sell it. And they do a good job of it.
That's why original screenplays you don't see very often. That's why superhero movies are easy is not the right word, but you already have the base content that you have a variety that you can pick from. What was it? Peele, is that his name? Jordan Peele? What he's kind of doing, kind of coming up with stuff, and it's just something off the top of my head. Also the guy that did Glass Onion and things of that nature, just coming up with original ideas. I mean, yes, they're kind of redoing tropes, but it's original ideas and original scripts as opposed to let's just reword Great Expectations. Let's just reword William Shakespeare. Let's just take these comics and just kind of repurpose it. And so that's why, again, these Tom Cruise movies, Tom Cruise is entertaining, but nobody fools themselves thinking these are the reinvention of the wheels. Again, they found a cookie cutter. Well, Die Hard. Die Hard's a perfect example. Die Hard came out, and then you had cookie cutter movies of Die Hard on a bus. Hey, that's speed. Die Hard on this. Die Hard on that. Die Hard on this. And it was just that. So people are going to copy what's running, what people are watching.
Exactly. That's why in the late 90s you had a string of disaster movies that came out,
Yeah.
like Twister, Armageddon, Dante's Peak, Deep Impact, all came out.
You had Deep Impact and Armageddon, two of the exact same movie, come out with different actors. That it's a meteor is going to hit the Earth, coming out 6 months away from each other. Wyatt Earp and Tombstone, the exact same story, coming out 6 months from each other. So yeah,
Yeah,
but that's one of the things
when
that's
Hollywood like you said, when Hollywood finds something that's
they're gonna beat the dead horse.
yes, the dead horse is going to be beaten over and over and over again. They're going to milk everything they can to where people turn on it. And you saw that. To me, you see that in the Marvels, in the Marvel movies, that they bled that turnip dry, and then they were left trying to keep on making money off of something that wasn't very good. So now they have to try to reinvent themselves again.
Well, Cole makes his first start at Phoenix, where he has difficulty adjusting to the larger NASCAR stock cars and communicating with his crew while being intimidated on the track by Winston Cup champion and dirty driver Rowdy Burns. These obstacles, combined with numerous crashes and blown engines, prevent Cole from finishing the next 3 races at Bristol, Dover, and Rockingham. Cole confesses to Harry that he does not understand any common NASCAR terminology, leading Harry to put him through rigorous training. This pays off at Darlington, where Cole uses a slingshot maneuver from the outside line to overtake Rowdy and win his first race. So I did like it the way that they made it. So they have Cole come in and he runs this car and he sets this track this track record in his little test thing, basically his audition. So you're thinking, oh man, this guy can drive, and then we get this montage of him absolutely not being able to do it, because I mean, what he was doing IndyCar racing, that's very different than NASCAR racing. Especially they said he was doing only sprints, so that's basically like 30 laps. Like, you're not even pitting.
It's short track too. It's with these long tracks.
Well, it depends, but I mean, you're not. I mean, obviously the Indy cars, they're not big like the NASCARs. They're not, which is what you get when he was talking about him burning up the tires, and I forgot. I feel so sick in my head that I forgot what I was gonna say. Say next.
Well, I mean, I like what you got, though. You got the screw ups. And this is the parts of the movie that I liked. I like seeing the screw ups, the building of the relationship between, again, the ice cream scene is still one of my favorite scenes. I've said that about 3 times, but that's
my favorite was when he's going down pit row and the car pulls out from him or something. He has to swerve, and it's right before he goes into the wall. He's like, "Uh-oh, this is gonna hurt."
I mean, how does he not have more brain damage than he didn't have, with the crashes?
Yeah, because this is at a time when NASCAR is, I mean, look, driving 200 miles an hour is going to be dangerous no matter how you slice it. But NASCAR today is much safer than it was at this time, because this was obviously before the Dale Earnhardt crash, and that changed things a lot. So, like, I mean, they're wearing like helmets, like, the helmets they're wearing, there's no front to them, which that's not what you get today. And like now they have like headrests where you can't move your head or anything. So these cars are very dangerous compared to what you get today.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know how NASCAR works in the cockpit of the cockpit. I'm talking about Tom Cruise. I mean, talking about Top Gun. But
I think they do call it the cockpit.
They do call it a cockpit. Yeah,
they are moving their heads left and right, looking behind them, looking at all their mirrors. I'm like,
you can't do that. I'm sorry,
these days. You're going how fast? I mean, if I get over 75 and I'm starting to do that, which I don't, then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm starting to get paranoid. That's the one thing that fascinates me about NASCAR is having control of a hunk of junk. It's not a hunk of junk, but a hunk of metal, and just controlling it, and that's crazy.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why, your spotter or whatever you want to call him, your pit crew leader or whatever is so important, because they're going to call things out like that. They're going to call things out of people coming up behind you and things like that, and having that trust with them, and
yeah, but like I don't know how. I mean, obviously, there's things about this that aren't realistic. I don't know how realistic the turning your head and all that is back then.
I don't feel like you're gonna be able to overcome the G-force,
because they literally have you.
Like, they have like chains, they strapped to the helmet.
Your head has to sit between this headrest, so like literally you can't move your head. Like you can only, I mean, you can maybe like a few centimeters each way. That's pretty much all you can move your head these days. Because if you get in a wreck, they don't want your head bobbing and weaving all over the place, which is good. I'm glad that they do that, because as we see later on in this movie that we're about to get to, sometimes your head can become mush if you're not careful.
That's true. Yeah. This does have one of my weirdest quotes that I'm only going to be able to use part of, from a team owner, when he said that they look like monkeys copulating with a football. You know, I was like, okay, I'm a football coach, and I've heard a lot of different catchphrases and sayings. That is one that I can say I have never heard before, and it made me laugh. I was like, that's that's funny. I mean, because because that image of that is kind of what I got from Cole and from Harry.
Yeah,
Which
and this is when their relationship starts to evolve too, because we get the montage where Cole keeps messing up, and you kind of see they're not really meshing, and then Cole kind of blames him and stuff, but they finally start to evolve, and you see him win his first race, and you get that scene where Cole's kind of freaking out because the pit took too long, and so Harry calms him down by telling him that he put special tires on, and then he wins the race, which I thought it makes me laugh because I'm thinking, he tells the interviewer this, and he's like, so I'm like, you definitely know NASCAR would have been investigating that when you tell him that he put special tires on. Like, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah, but I really did like that though, because I think at that moment it kind of showed. I think Harry acknowledging the skill that he had. Where he went from at first, where he's like, he's too reckless, he's not getting in, he's not doing it. Like he's way in over his head. To now he's looking at him, and after going through all this training and everything, now he's looking at him and saying, "Hey, look, I know this is an extremely dangerous turn, and nobody ever goes to the outside, but you can do it. I know that you can do it." And he gets him out of his head and allows him to do it. And I think that's what really kind of sets their mindset off, And I kind of love the way that they did that with Harry, because this was the moment where you had, hey, look, we're going to go out here and run 100 laps. And, you do 50 your way, I do 50 my way, and we'll see what happens, And like you said, I like the way that they built their relationship with each other, but I really like there at the end where Harry kind of shows, hey, it's like, it doesn't necessarily just have to be my way. Like, he kind of works with him to kind of bring in a little bit of Cole's way and to bring in a little bit of Harry's way, and to make it work,
Well, the rivalry between Cole and Rowdy intensifies throughout the season until the Firecracker 400 at Daytona, where both drivers are seriously injured after being caught in a massive crash. Recovering in Daytona Beach, Cole develops a romantic relationship with Dr. Claire Lewicki, a neurosurgeon at a local hospital. NASCAR president Big John brings Rowdy and Cole together in a meeting, warns them that he and his sport will no longer tolerate any misbehavior from the two rivals. The two bitter rivals soon become close friends after having dinner and settling their differences by smashing rental cars in a race on the beach, per Big John's persuasion. I like how it says per Big John, like he persuaded them to go crash cars on the beach. But no, I mean, yeah. So Ernie mentioned that we do get the crash pretty early in the movie, and we probably could have got a little bit more to see the rivalry. But this is still pretty cool. You get we get kind of seeing them kind of work out their differences. We get the scene where they're doing their wheelchairs in the hospital, and they start racing each other, and which is pretty funny. And then obviously them driving to dinner and banging the cars together. And as I'm watching this, two things that jump out at me. At first, I'm like, okay, so we do this real quickly, and all of a sudden they're best buds. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? That is such a dude thing. Like, let's just crash our cars together, and then now we're best friends. Right, we're good. So it makes sense.
Yeah. But the whole. This is one of those things where they talk about this movie like it running late, because it ran over because of production and stuff like that. A lot of it done because the Don Simpson. But like this scene, they have some footage of them taking Cole Trickle out in a helicopter. So they paid for that, but they didn't use it in the movie. And it's like, you spent
they
that
used
much.
it very briefly. You see him getting taken out in the helicopter.
I mean, you spent that much money. Well, just like Harry's barn. They built Harry's barn, didn't like it, tore it down. Built a second barn, didn't like it, tore it down. Built a third barn, didn't like it, tore it down. So they decided to rebuild the first barn all over again. I mean, just the stories behind, like they spent $400,000 on a gym. Or Simpson and Bruckheimer did for. Of course, it probably wasn't used as a gym, but just kind of money just thrown left and right. It was really interesting. But we have to mention the sexual harassment of Nicole Kidman that was preceded by the stripper prostitute cop or whatever, which that was just like, it's one of those things where rookie hazing is kind of the type of one of those things. You kind of understand that. But again, my biggest issue is all about Nicole Kidman's character. One, Nicole Kidman was 23 years old when she did this movie, and she's a neurosurgeon. The second best neurosurgeon, and she's 23 years old. I'm sorry, no. Now, you have this guy force your hand down to his groinal area. Then later on, he's stalking you at your car. He then spends gobs of money on flowers because he found out where you lived and had your whole entire apartment filled with flowers. Then, as you're giving him a physical, he kisses you, and then he's mad at you for not kissing him back. Then later on, he traps her in a car as he gets road rage. I mean, I'm sorry, that's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah, but it's Tom Cruise, so it works.
Well, but I also find one of the ironies of all ironies, where she said where they talk about the what they did, and she told them that that's a dangerous way to spend your time. Oh, but yet she jumps on the back of his motorcycle without a helmet.
This is 1990. They didn't wear helmets back then.
Look, I'm pretty sure you still don't have to wear helmets in Florida today. Okay, I'm pretty sure that they reversed that law.
I thought it was Texas. Maybe just Florida.
I thought it was. No, I think Florida. I did it.
I think Texas. I think you have to wear a helmet.
Is Nicole Kidman pretty?
Oh, 100%. That's why she's in there.
That's all that matters for these movies.
So, look. No, you say that Tom Cruise played the. I'm trying not to think of how to say this in a very PG-13 way. He played the creeper in that room with the whole grope and everything a little too well, in my opinion. If I'm being honest here.
Are you saying he groomed her later on to marry her, like in real life?
Imagine, look, it would not surprise me. Okay, I don't know that much about his personal life or their personal lives, but would not surprise me.
Dude is creepy. We'll just keep it at that.
They married the year this movie came out. I don't know if they were married at this point.
I think they started dating during this time or something like that. But
it says married 1990, divorced 2001. So there you go.
Yeah. So this also has, to me, the best scene in the hospital, which is the wheelchair race.
Well, hold on now. Let's talk about who doesn't listen to who now, because I done brought this up.
Oh,
and you didn't have anything to say about it.
No, I don't listen to you at all.
About me not listening to you.
No, I'm too busy trying to read my scribble whenever I was watching the movie and stuff like that, and I was already jumping onto stuff. But the funniest part about that wheelchair scene, though, was when they got away from the nurses, and that one male nurse finally got to Cole's wheelchair, and you see Rowdy slap that guy's hands down as they're going and going and going. Which, to be fair, Michael Rooker didn't stand a chance in that match, because do you know what movie that Tom Cruise did before this? Born on the 4th of July, where he played a paralyzed Vietnam veteran in a wheelchair. Tom Cruise setting himself up to win. That's all it was. And somebody said that also this was like they weren't, because of insurance, they weren't letting Tom Cruise drive like Tom Cruise really did. So this is truly Tom Cruise's race right here, because it's the only time that they let him really, really drive. I mean, drive for real. Like if this was 2025 Tom Cruise, he's for sure in that NASCAR, in that a real NASCAR driving it, because one, he has a death wish right now in his life, and so. But back then in 1990, they were like, nah, insurance is too high on Tom Cruise.
Well, Dalen hires another hotshot rookie, Russ Wheeler, to fill Cole's seat until Cole returns, and then expands his team with Dalen now fielding 2 cars, the second car driven by Russ, despite Harry's approval. Though Cole shows signs of his old self, he falls into a new rivalry with Russ, leading to an engine failure at Atlanta. Dalen offers no help to Cole or his crew as he is defensive of his newest driver at North Wilkesboro. Russ blocks Cole's path during their pit stop and later forces Cole into the outside wall in the last lap to win the race. Cole retaliates by crashing into Russ's car after the race, leading to a fight between Harry, Dalen, and both Cole and Russ's pit crews, with Dalen firing both Cole and Harry in the process. So we spend a good chunk of the movie with Tom Cruise kind of fighting his demons, and the first race was that he comes back is probably my favorite part of that, where you see him, you get that, you can see his anxiety. You get that line of Harry where he's like, Cole's upset, and they're like, what's he upset about? Being in that race car. And then he makes the engines fire. I mean, you can just see. I mean, they did a good job with that scene, just kind of painting that picture. I mean, look, man, you have a wreck like that, and then you're supposed to get back in there and race the 200-mile-per-hour vehicle. I would be having second thoughts myself.
I mean, I don't know if y'all have ever been in a car wreck, period, but I got in a car wreck when I was 16 years old, and I was paranoid, and not at 200 miles an hour, but I was paranoid to get back in the car for a long time, and then I kept on. I mean, I'd get to a stop sign, and I would overstop. I would stop and wait until like there's like literally not a pulse around me before I would go at times, just because I was paranoid. Again, I don't know how these guys. There's something built differently about NASCAR drivers to be able to get back in the car once they ever wreck.
Yeah, I mean, good on them. I think he does a good job of showing that PTSD, and where he goes from thinking about what he's doing to his fight or flight kicking in and just redlining it, trying to get out of there, just trying to get away from that. And, I really kind of like that they brought in another, hotshot rookie and how he, and I mean, it kind of starts the same way that all of them do, where they kind of, the rookie comes in and he's trying to be nice to him and trying to, just talk to him and everything. And then the guy kind of blows him off. But, it was, I'll be honest with you. I know that Dalen kind of made a couple of the other comments where he was like, hey, like, obviously Cole's the reason that we got here, but he kind of was pretty quick to just kind of drop him, wasn't he?
Well, he hadn't been racing, and he had.
Well, I mean, I get that, but like,
I think that just goes to show you that no matter how important you think you are, it's always a business, and they will replace you at the drop of a hat.
But that also goes back to the mentality of what NASCAR is. It's the car. You have to have a driver to drive the car because it is the 42 car or whatever the number was for that one was, And so when Cole wasn't producing, you have to get rid of him. And so, I mean, that's where, sports is a business. That you don't buy a car, you don't buy sport, you don't buy a team unless you're like the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates, to not make money. You're there to try to make money and try to win. And if he's not doing it, especially when he T-bones your other car out on a victory lap, which if Cole wasn't concussed beforehand, he should have been cut. If he had a real concussion beforehand, and he T-boned that guy, he T-boned Wheeler, he should have been scrambled then too, because he drilled that car.
Oh no, I fully get and support him firing him after that. Like, no doubt about that. I'll be honest, I'm surprised NASCAR didn't ban him entirely for doing something like that. But I mean, I guess like Sugg said earlier, that was something that actually happened in a NASCAR race.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, there were them crashing the rental cars on the beach. That
okay.
No, I don't know about that. I would doubt. Well, I'm not gonna say I doubt it because it is NASCAR. You get some of these drivers' egos, yes. But I would still think that would probably not have happened. But I'm not gonna put it out of the equation.
Well, I guess in my mind, if you're spending this much money on a car and you're trying to keep the car in the best shape possible, you're already going to have to replace parts and everything after these races. Why in the world would you intentionally go out and T-bone another car with it? It's kind of my thought,
Because I mean,
Well, at that
you got to
point,
have a whole
Cole
lot
didn't
of
care about that
testosterone.
about the car.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess the driver doesn't care because he's not actually paying for it.
I mean, he feels that he's being kind of betrayed by Dalen anyways. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's his car. I mean, Cole doesn't pay for the car. So,
yeah.
but Rowdy learns he has to undergo brain surgery to fix a broken blood vessel and asks Cole to drive his car at the Daytona 500 so his sponsor will pay for the year. Cole reluctantly agrees and convinces Harry to return as his crew chief. Hours prior to the race, Harry discovers metal in the oil pan, a sign of engine failure, and manages to procure a new engine from Dalen, who still believes in his former driver's promise. During the race, Cole's car is spun out by rust and suffers a malfunctioning transmission, but the combined efforts of Harry and Dalen's pit crews manage to fix the problem and get Cole back on the lead lap. On the final lap, Russ predicts that Cole will attempt his signature slingshot maneuver from the outside, but Cole tricks him with a crossover, overtaking him from the inside to win his first Daytona 500. I didn't really like the way that they brought Rowdy into this. You see the scenes with Harry Till and Nicole Kidman's character, because she asked why hadn't he been to see Rowdy, and he's like, he don't want to see them because race car drivers don't be reminded of what can happen. And so, I mean, they did a good job painting Rowdy into that to kind of further Cole's PTSD and how he fights his way back. And even when he's doing the Daytona 500, he doesn't actually come back to his full self until he finally manages to get through that wreck.
Yeah, that last barrier. Yeah, I liked when he went to go visit Rowdy that one time, and he finally took the baseball bat, to the pool table to try to kind of get his attention, and that's I think what how many men like to go to the doctor, period, and get checked up on anything, much less somebody that's a car that knows if he goes to the doctor, it officially ends his career. And this also kind of leads to the best conversation I think that I liked with Cole and Harry in Harry's barn when he tried to recruit Harry again. But again, it goes back to where I wanted to see more of the storyline of the driver that Harry had beforehand that passed away. But that kind of shows you where Harry was concerned about Cole because he didn't think that Cole was ready mentally.
I tell you, I think my favorite scene throughout this whole time is the interaction between Rooker and Cruz when he's in the bed and they just told him that he needed to have brain surgery and stuff, and when he's asking, "Hey, would you do it? Would you be?" And I think this scene right here is where Rooker really kind of shines in that moment. It's where I think this was kind of the epitome of his character here as far as this movie goes, and I really think Rooker does a good job with this, and really a lot of the movies that he does. Well, I say a lot of I see the same thing that he did with in Yondu's character in Guardians of the Galaxy, where he had a similar type conversation with another character, and I think Rooker in this time right here, through this whole where he's going through his really seeing his struggles with things, it really shone in my eyes.
Cole drives into Victory Lane, where he and his pit crew celebrate with Claire. He approaches Harry, sitting alone, who is impressed by Cole's performance. Cole asks Harry to walk with him, and Harry agrees, challenging him to a foot race to Victory Lane. So, I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but I thought the real relationship in the movie is between Cole and Harry, Cruz and Duvall, and we get that here. I mean, we get the Victory Lane. We get a brief little kiss moment between Cruz and Kidman, but then we go straight to finish the movie. We're going to Cruz and Duvall, not Cruz and Kidman, which I think most sports movies would end on that little kiss thing. And hey, it's a happy ending. He's kissing the love of his life, and now here's the end of the movie. But no, we got to go to the mentor, which is a really cool scene. And get them kind of talking, and then they start running. And let me tell you, Robert Duvall, for a 59-year-old man at the time
He was-
this movie is, he was getting it.
He was picking them up and putting them down. He was going.
Oh yeah.
I think him at 59 could definitely beat me in a race at me at 29 today.
Let me tell you, she was brave wearing a white pantsuit.
Well,
And-
both times she went to the racetrack, she had white pantsuit on. I'm like,
Yeah, there's too much grease and oil.
My
and
English teacher would probably tell me there's some kind of parallel we can draw there between the white and the black, but I don't care that much about to dive into
I'm sorry. No, because not after the sweet and low scene. Sister doesn't need to be wearing white anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, the sweet scene.
Oh man.
All right, so I guess that brings us to the end of the movie. You guys have anything to add before we move on to our rankings?
Not off the top of my head. Again, I like the car racing scene just at the end period. You know that even though I always wondered, is there more to car racing than just going over the slingshotting over the top of people? And also, I've never how you're down by that much, but yet you pass cars left and right. I mean, Cole Trickle, he must have like 47
again,
Winston Cups
that
by
brings us
now.
back to the not very realistic part of
Yeah.
racing. Yeah,
I will-
if you're at the very back, you're not moving up to the front that quickly. Like
No.
it's not happening.
I did really like, and I forgot to mention this, but his little move at the end, where he's, I know Cole. He's going to go to the outside. He goes to the outside every time. It's his signature move. And then Cole faking him out and going to the inside or going low. Like, personally, I love that. I don't know how realistic that is, but I saw that and was like, oh yeah, that's really smart. That was a good move on his part.
Yeah, they set it up with all the way back with Rooker, with Rowdy. That's how he beat Rowdy for the first time too. So
yeah,
And then 15 years later, we get the slingshot highlighted in Talladega Nights.
yeah.
With John C. Reilly, in that same movie, he's playing the same role.
No. I don't. I would not.
An absolute airhead type of. I mean, he wasn't very smart.
Buck was like an absolute airhead in this one. I mean,
that was Buddy's son, the Breederton son. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Talladega Nights, where he steals his best friend's wife, and then he calls him later. He's like, "Why are you so mad at me?"
Pray to sweet 6-pound, 8-ounce baby Jesus.
Oh, we're not going to get into this. We could quote Talladega Nights for another hour if we wanted to. But all right, so we're going to move on to rankings unless you guys have anything else you want to add.
No.
All right, so for our 40th episode spectacular, and apparently Kamei is really excited because I can hear her laughing in the background. She must be really excited for these rankings.
We have a friend from out of town.
Tell him to hush up in there. We're recording.
We're talking about Tom Cruise. Be quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. Yeah, just we'll wait. Go tell him to hush it. No, I'm just kidding.
I won't come back. I won't come back.
Yeah, no, she'll kill you, then she'll kill me, and it'll be Ernie by his lonesome.
Hey, that's a no. I can't do the editing part of it. So we already found that out.
Don't worry, I can't either.
40 episodes in, we're still trying to figure it out.
Hey, we just kind of let it go, and we'll see what happens. But
one day we'll get it. One day we'll be big enough. We'll have a producer.
Exactly. That's what I want. I should just put out an ad on Indeed.
There you go.
Look, most of the jobs these days don't put how much you make on there anyway. So I just won't put that, and then when they ask, they'll be like, "Well, you've already interviewed. Why don't you just try it out? You're not going to make any money.
Just put $30, and don't put per hour. Just put $30. Okay.
It doesn't specify when you receive $30.
After our 150th episode, you'll get $30.
I don't even think we've made a single dollar. I think we're all in the hole on this podcast right now.
It's a labor of love.
All right, so I guess since it's my episode, I'll go first. Like I said, I do think this is better than Top Gun, and I guess maybe that is a hot take, but even though it's basically copying it, I liked it a lot more, and I think it's unfair to the movie a little bit that it came after Top Gun, because I think people just look at it as a carbon copy, and sometimes they don't realize that it can be a pretty good movie in itself. But I understand what Ernie said earlier about the script. Obviously, they're flying by the seat of their pants, but sometimes that happens, and you don't always need the strongest of scripts to have a great movie. And I didn't think, I mean, they definitely brought the budget in for the great scenery, the music, the awesome racing scenes, which is really a highlight of the movie. The racing scenes really are awesome, and I think that's something, there's just not a ton of there's not a ton of racing movies period out there. So when you have one like this that can highlight it in a good way, that's something big. And then the acting, Tom Cruise, Robert Duvall, Michael Rooker especially are all fantastic. I'm trying to be objective, but at the same time, this is just another one of those nostalgia movies for me that I love so much. So I'm going to give it an 8.75. I think Ernest, he was telling you to go.
Oh, sorry, I was too busy typing into the.
Sorry, I had my mind muted.
So, okay, so for me, I don't think this is one of Tom Cruise's best efforts in a movie. Again, I think I would rather see him in Color at this time period in Color of Money. That's probably one of my favorite characters because he's really a real good jerk in that episode, in that movie though. Visually, Tony Scott movie, incredible. Robert Duvall was incredible. Michael Rooker was pretty good. The storyline dragged a little bit here or there. And again, I don't think this is one of Tom Cruise's best movies. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. So I am gonna go with a 7.75.
So I'd never seen this movie before this. I've heard
shook.
of it.
I'm
about
absolutely
to say.
stunned.
I was talking to somebody about the podcast the other day, and I said I really think it was just a ploy for my friend to get me to watch some of the old movies because he's tired of me not getting references.
That's exactly what it was.
Good move,
we said
smart
this
move.
when we started the podcast. That's exactly what it was. I never hid from it.
And I think I sat down and thought the other day, and I'm pretty sure because this is 40 movies here that we've watched, and I think close to 75% of the movies I have not seen prior to us recording it.
What? Look, I'm just glad you've seen 25% of them. That's probably higher than I would think.
Yeah. However, I know that we said this is a sports movie and it's listed as a sports movie. I've always enjoyed these racing movies more so than I did really kind of sports like baseball or football movies or things like that. And I'm not really sure why. It could just be because of the loud cars and things like that. But as far as this movie goes in the plot, there were some things that were lacking and there were some things that could have been taken out and would have had no impact on the movie whatsoever. There's, some characters that I wish I had seen more. But overall, I mean, I think I really enjoyed this movie. Just kind of, front to back, it's one of those movies you can really kind of just sit down and not really have to think about what's going on. You could just, kind of pick up and watch it, just, hey, I'm wanting to watch a little bit something with NASCAR in it. And, I could pick between Talladega Nights and this. And, I'd sit down and watch it again, That being said, I think I'm going to give this movie an 8. An even 8.
All right, so that's an 8.75 for me, a 7.75 for Ernie, and an 8 for Dakota. That averages out to 8.16 repeating. Ernie, where does that put us on our ratings?
That will tie us at 18, I believe, somewhere around there. But it's tied with Friday Night Lights, Bad Boys, and 10 Things I Hate About You. So it's right up. It's right above.
Those are my movies.
Yeah, it's right above X-Men and Bull Durham, and right below The Patriot.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this movie a lot more than Bull Durham. And it's not saying anything against Bull Durham. I think this is more of my speed of a movie than that was.
Yeah, I mean, Ernie just didn't pick a great baseball movie for you. Now, over the weekend, I watched Major League 2. That's obviously an absolute classic.
So good, he got it out of his system.
No. That's now he's even
this
more
is gonna
geeked
be
up
you're
to
gonna
show
say
us.
this, and then we're gonna do it one day, and you're gonna actually like it because it's a lot funnier than the first one. So I'm just gonna put out that prediction now. But anyways, all right. So 8.16 repeating. That Ernie says that ties us on 18th on our list. If you would like to see the full rankings list, you can go to our website, podpage.com/classic blockbusters. That's podpage.com/classic blockbusters. You can go in there and see our rankings full list as well as our episodes, and I think there's some other stuff on there as well. We also have a Facebook page, Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast, where you can go on there, and we are on Twitter now too at BlockbusterPod1. We're streaming, or X, I guess is what it's called now. Thank you, Elon Musk.
No, it's not. It's Twitter.
We're streaming on Spotify and Apple Podcast every Thursday, and also YouTube occasionally when we remember to upload that episode there.
We're 3 weeks behind currently.
Yeah, well, could be worse. All right, Dakota, it's your turn next. Please tell us what wonderful movie we'll be watching, as long as it is not Lost in America 2.
So, I've been wanting to watch a superhero movie for a while now. Currently, Kamei is watching a superhero TV show, and so being inspired by that, we're going to go to 1978 and watch Superman.
All right, so 1978, we'll do Superman for next week. Oh man, it's been a long time since I've seen that. I've seen the second one, and recently, because I do like the second one, but it's been a long time since I've seen the first.
I think I've like seen bits and pieces of this. I've never actually sat down and watched the full movie, but I think
really thought you were going to go Blade there. That's what I was expecting when you started.
I really considered it with the whole, Nino Brown.
Yeah.
thing.
Nino Brown is Blade, baby.
I considered it, but I've watched a lot of Marvel movies, and I have not caught up on the DC universe, and so I kind of want to go back and catch up on this.
This is not the DC universe.
No.
Well, I mean, yeah, but DC. I mean, I say DC
movie.
universe. DC. I mean DC movies. Like just in general.
All right. So, what TV show is your wife watching?
If you had not asked, I would have been able to tell you. It's the one with Clark Kent.
If you had not asked, I would have been able to tell you.
Smallville.
Oh gosh. All right, so Superman. That's what we're doing next week. Again, Days of Thunder. It was 8.16 repeating, 18 on our rankings list. We thank you for everybody that's listened to us as we've gotten here to our 40th episode. That's 39 more episodes than we thought we would do, in 38, especially more than we did when we brought in Ernie for episode 2. So we're extremely happy to be here. Ernie, anything else to say to the kind people?
Nino Brown was dusted everybody in the car in this movie.